Ladies and gentlemen, we are going to be watching a video from B1M channel about the race to build in Antarctica. I guess I don't know which country is trying to build something in Antarctica, but yeah, we're gonna know in this video from B1M. Maybe could be US, could be some other nation, could be some other country. Let's see.
Boom taking place in one of the most unlikely parts of the world, Antarctica.
Frozen.
The coldest, windiest, driest, and somehow wettest continent in the world.
Yeah.
It is, without a doubt, the harshest environment known to man. Temperatures can drop to a grisly minus 89 degrees Celsius. Wind speeds can exceed 200 miles an hour. And during winter, parts of the continent can be submerged in 6 months of darkness. To travel here, to live here, you have to be brave. There's no question about that.
Yeah.
And yet, surprisingly, the continent has a population of about 5,000 people in the summer and around 1,000 in the winter.
Ooh.
There are actually towns with bars and shops and even little cinemas.
I heard that they pay people to live in Antarctica, or something like that. The government pay people to live in Antarctica or to work there, I think. So I guess they want them to come, at least make some money, or keep it developed, keep it kind of running, you can say. So I guess that's why they are paying the people. I heard it from some other video.
There is life here, and it's growing. Construction is reaching an all-time high across the continent. Right now, these settlements are mostly populated by scientists doing extraordinary work. But that might be about to change. You see, in early 2024, Russian geologists found what looks to be like massive reserves of oil.
Yeah.
The reserves uncovered contain around 511 billion barrels worth of oil.
Wow.
That equates to around 10 times the North.
So where is US? Did US come here? US will be coming here, right?
11 billion barrels worth of oil. That equates to around 10 times the North Sea's entire output over the last 50 years, and more than twice that of all of Saudi Arabia.
Wow.
It's a discovery that has put this icy continent on edge. Since 1961, the countries laying claim to Antarctica have peacefully agreed to preserve the land for scientific research. This treaty dictates that no military bases or oil operations can take place here. But that agreement is set to expire by 2048, and we're already seeing some of those countries attempt to secure their claims through settlements, construction projects, and even babies. So, are we about to see a scramble for the last continent?
Let's see.
Our story begins with Nazis. During World War II, Germany sent expeditions to Antarctica in attempts to establish a secret military base there. As you can imagine, Britain and America soon followed suit. Now, there are a number of colourful conspiracy theories on the internet as to what all these operations were up to. What we do know is that in 1958, America detonated 3 nuclear weapons in the region. It kind of became obvious that Antarctica could be used as a pawn in the growing Cold War. To prevent this, the 12 countries that lay claim to the continent agreed to a treaty, and it's more or less stayed the same way ever since, with each country claiming its own little slice. There are now 7 countries that want a piece of the pie: Argentina, Australia, Chile, France, New Zealand, Norway, and the UK.
Where is US?
America has its own research base. Now, it should be noted that while the treaty is recognised internationally, these claims are not, and they remain contested. This slice over here, you may notice, has a few countries laying claim. Argentina, the UK and Chile have all marked this spot as their own.
Okay.
And as these things tend to go, this is where the oil's been discovered, but we'll get to that in a moment.
I think everybody is there for oil.
Anything in Antarctica takes an enormous strength of will. This is an environment that really doesn't want us there. And yet, the architects and engineers who work down here to construct new buildings are busier than ever.
I have been working on projects in Antarctica for 20 years.
Oh,
I've been
wow.
twice with the British program, once with the Spanish program, twice with the New Zealand program, and once with the Australian program. There was another big building spree in like the late 80s and 90s, and we're experiencing the same again now.
For the last few years, the British Antarctic Survey has been undergoing a massive effort to update their existing infrastructure. While you and I might wonder who in their right mind would want to spend 3 to 15 months at a time down here, Antarctica is full of scientists doing just that, and they're achieving
Right.
some remarkable things.
I remember
Like what?
seeing the first iceberg on our first voyage and the excitement that sent through the whole ship. And then approaching the station and being on the peninsula was just a fantastic experience. And I'm looking forward to going back again.
Scientists here are the ones that discovered the hole in the ozone layer. They are continually learning about the rapid effects of climate change.
Obviously, Antarctica is like a kind of thermometer on the world, and a lot of the key signs of climate change are witnessed in the Antarctic.
And of course, they study the penguins.
Hey, penguins.
The UK team has just completed the Discovery Building, a $372 million fit out that replaces a number of older buildings on the site.
It's intended to replace 6 of the existing buildings, which are coming to the end of their life. They've been there since about the 1970s, 1980s.
Becomes challenging in extreme weather walking between the buildings. So the Discovery Building replaces all of those with one big, much larger structure, and it just makes the whole experience more collaborative.
So that's what they
This
made,
is the
huh?
UK's largest research station on Antarctica and includes a scientific workshop, a medical centre, operations hub, and even a gym with a climbing wall.
Oh.
But the Discovery Building didn't actually begin its journey in Antarctica. It was first built on the other side of the world, in T-Sport. There's really no
T-Sport.
room for error when it comes to building in this location. If you're missing a piece, you can't simply go around the corner to your local hardware shop.
Yeah.
Every piece of material and equipment has to be painstakingly checked and then carefully shipped to Antarctica.
So it's quite
True.
a challenge to get all of the materials that we need to Antarctica. So that planning prior to going down to station and making sure we've got everything we need and some spares to go along with it is so important.
Yeah.
It's why nearly all of the buildings there are prefabricated. Think of them like IKEA flat packs. This means that buildings can be constructed and tested in the UK before they get shipped over.
Oh, okay.
You see, everything's initially built here. It's then trialled, improved on, broken down, before being put on an enormous container ship and sent halfway around the world.
I see.
Now, to get to Rothera, where the British base is, these ships have to cross the dreaded Southern Ocean. The Southern Ocean is easily the most dangerous in the world. This is because it's the only ocean that goes completely around the globe uninterrupted by land. It creates a swirling mass of water with winds that can reach up to 70 knots, causing the largest waves on the planet.
Oh, damn.
Hitting an iceberg in that weather is catastrophic, and because of its climate and location, icebergs can form here at any time of the year. All of that accumulates over here in the Drake Passage between South America's
Drake
Cape
Passage?
Horn and the South
What
Shetland
Drake doing
Islands.
here?
In some areas, water currents flow as fast
Sheesh.
as 150 million cubic meters a second, making it the most voluminous, dangerous current in the world. Once the ships finally dock at Rothera, workers only have 6 months to assemble the buildings. There's literally no time for mistakes or delays. Beyond April, the amount of daylight reduces dramatically and temperatures drop regularly below freezing.
Right.
The sea ice then begins to form and no new ships can come to the station. Meanwhile, all flights already stopped going out by about mid-March. At this point, it's almost impossible for anyone to get to or leave this continent.
Rothera Research Station is on an island. Sea ice forms around
Very
it that
challenging,
we
dude.
can't traverse through.
The buildings themselves, of course, have got to withstand extreme weather conditions.
Yeah.
Temperatures can drop very suddenly, often landing at minus 35 degrees Celsius.
Sheesh.
Snowfall can often exceed the depth of a single story, while wind speeds can reach 38 metres a second with gusts of up to 45 metres a second. It's no surprise then that retaining heat is the primary focus of these structures.
Of course,
The external cladding of the
24/7.
Discovery Building, for example, has to include thermal breaks and vibration dampers.
We then look at systems to make sure that they can be as airtight as possible. So panels pull hard against each other, but with really good compressible seals within to make sure that there's no path for the cold to get into the building.
Right.
Many of the buildings in Antarctica are also divided into zones and have sensors detecting when people are there. Rooms that are
Oh.
empty are then winterized and have their heat shut off or lowered to conserve energy.
Okay.
There are also ventilation systems that recover heat from warm, dirty air.
So during the summer, we'll have in
Damn.
excess of 160
They got some
people on the
technology.
station, but during the winter, that'll go down to about 25. You don't want to be heating areas that are not in use.
There's still some really talented people maintaining the buildings. You generally have a generator mechanic, probably a plumber, an electrician, maybe even a builder. But if something significant goes wrong, you need to be able to survive, and it could be for many months until you're rescued. So that's why in most of these stations, it's still important that there is more than one building, because essentially you need one
Backup.
to be your lifeboat. That
Right.
resilience underpins all of the design in Antarctica.
That's
to fight the
cool.
wind,
That's cool.
the Discovery building is secured to the ground with 71 anchors. It's also orientated in an east-west axis to maximise the scour from the predominant northeasterly winds. These winds are then deflected along the curved steel of the southern roof down to the sheltered side of the building, where they actually help to clear snow. It joins a number of other settlements across the continent, the biggest of which is America's McMurdo Station, situated on the Hut Point Peninsula of Ross Island in the Ross Sea.
Huh.
This complex has more than 80 buildings housing
Wow,
some
a lot of-
1,200 people.
Yeah.
It really is like a small town with shops and bars.
That's
and
cool.
there's camaraderie between the various bases. Kiwis from the New Zealand Scott base frequently make the trip to the US base to watch movies and join book clubs.
Ah.
The Antarctic community is a great community, and everyone does interact between stations and shares a lot of their knowledge and experience.
Cool, cool.
Now, when news of Russia's discovery of oil hit, Chile alerted its defence forces and held a security meeting at its base in Antarctica. Chile, along with Argentina, have been steadily building up their bases on the continent over the last few decades as well.
Okay.
To shore up their claims to this piece of land, 11 babies have been born in Antarctica between both countries, the first back in 1978.
Wow.
Mining of any kind is banned in Antarctica under the Environmental Protocol, but like the treaty, that is up for review in 2048. Regardless, we are definitely seeing a boom in construction across the continent.
The boom in construction is orchestrated by a number of factors. The first one is that there is a sort of 40-year cycle on buildings. Buildings just don't last as long as they would in a more temperate environment.
Right.
There's obviously also an element of geopolitical interest in Antarctica, and we're seeing a lot of new nations developing stations at the moment alongside those that have been there for the last 70 or 80 years. The Antarctic Treaty, which protects Antarctica and to which all the nations that operate in the Antarctica are signatories to. And that ensures peaceful activity, it ensures focus on science. But, you know, the world changes, people have different interests. There have been some challenging sessions, and certainly all the countries that we work with are very aware of that. Geopolitics has probably always been there. I think it's a little bit more heightened at the moment, and certainly all the countries that we work with are very aware of that.
While Antarctica may seem like a desolate wasteland to the most of us, the continent's actually been inhabited for centuries. Antarctica is a beautiful
Dolphins.
sanctuary for this wildlife, and it deserves to be protected. We all know what can happen when countries begin vying for oil, and it's clear we need to tread really carefully when it comes to the last continent.
True.
Every time you go, it's totally magic. And that first time when you step off the plane or step off the ship, you just like look around in awe because it's just such a majestic environment. I think one of the things I've always admired about Antarctica is the collaborative spirit of all the people who work
Right.
there. And there have been
It's
countries
like a good
that
community,
have been either at war with each other, but in Antarctica,
Look at my
they've
guy having
continued to
fun
support
here, bro.
each- have been
Look
the
at my guy
collaborative
down
spirit
here.
of all the people who work there. And there have
Damn,
been
he's chilling in
countries
that ice-cold
have been
water.
either at war with each other, but in Antarctica they've continued to support each other, helped when someone's been sick, helped with a
Nice.
rescue. You see the
Nice.
best of humankind in Antarctica. Now, will that continue? I mean, who can know? If it does continue and it provides a fantastic focal point
I hope it
for the rest of
continues.
the world to understand how people can get on in the face of extremity if they really want to.
The coming decades may very well see even more construction projects take place as the 7 countries that want Antarctica race to secure their claim. Whoever wins, this continent is certain to change forever.
Makes sense. Good thing about this thing is overall is how good people are to each other over there, especially how the guy talked in the end about it. Like, it's just one community, they come together, they are like about 1200 to 1500 people over there, so not much big population, very little population over there, of course, because of the weather condition, and it's like an island, or there's no land around, it's just surrounded by water, and overall, I mean, it's crazy how they go through with their lives in that country, dude. And I see the oil and all that stuff. That's really good to know, but time will tell, because in 2048 they said, or something like that, the country there will be at least one country which will kind of claim Antarctica, or the Antarctica land, that important stuff in the Antarctica, as theirs. But right now many other countries are trying their own different kind of experiments and projects in Antarctica, as we saw. But yeah, overall very nice video. It's crazy to see all these human beings, especially, to work in this harsh weather conditions, dude. And it's good to know as well that people are really nice to each other, because how extreme these weather are, and in that place, helping and being together is really a good thing and really needed, I think so that's a good part of the video. But let's see which country get the part of Antarctica, and I know it was Antarctica, or was it Alaska, that government pays them to live there or something like that. If it's not Antarctica, it has to be Alaska, I think so. But yeah, a very nice video, amazing video by B1M. We're gonna see which country gets the part of it and which country gets all that oil, but right now most of are having their time with doing different kind of projects and people living there, but you cannot live all through the year over there, because the weather gets very bad, and the way they are building, also the buildings cannot survive that long. After a few years they have to make a new ones because of weather, of course, but yeah, well, this was the video on the race to build in Antarctica by V1M, and yeah, that's it for this one, and I'll see you guys in the next one.